Hi, I'm Dean.
Hi, I'm Hyunbyeon.
Hi, I'm Daniel Watts.
And my name is Ann Meadows. We are here to discuss the Bonstar case. Primarily to go over the overview, we will be discussing today the project background and the objectives that were given to us. Additionally, the main issues that we addressed while assessing Bonstar, the findings and analyses that we did while we were there, and finally our recommendations moving forward. To first cover the history of the Bonstar Hotel, it was of course built in the 1970s over Soviet rule, and when Namastan gained its independence in 1995, it overturned ownership many times until you of course finally bought it in 2001. Since then, it's been in a pretty dilapidated state because of lack of investment, which is what brings us here, because of course it is seeing a reported 10 to 15% occupancy rate, and has rather shaky leadership. And so, of course, we were told to audit the Bonstar Hotel and formulate a strategy in order to promote improved business. Unfortunately, we were only given a week to do this, which we feel was an improper scope for the project due to the fact that we were not given most financial information up front. So we did have to extend the time frame of this project to 2 weeks. Second, to go over the major issues that we addressed while auditing Bonstar. First, we investigated the poor condition of the hotel and the misuse of its facilities. And so this includes not only the poor, the outdated equipment, but also the way that the kitchen was being operated and the housekeeping was being operated. Secondly, like we said, there has been a lack of investment over the years in Bonstar, and we question whether or not we should make a higher cash investment or keep it out as it is. Thirdly, we cover the financial statement discrepancies. There are multiple sets of books that are kept in running this business, which we feel has led to difficult findings in how the cash is flowing and where it's going. So we did take a close look at that. And finally, we covered the politics and the ownership of the land and the services that are provided. Because the hotel is operated by 4 different businesses, one being York Corporation, another being the owners of the land where we lease, and then also Kaplan's 2 own businesses, that definitely makes a very confusing business ownership structure, which we will discuss later.
So the findings and analysis that we focus on were the competitive assessment and the SWOT analysis, because we believe these are critical to determining the profitability of the company in the future. So the competitive assessment shows that the hotel industry is very competitive in Elhan right now. There's a large number of hotels, high fixed costs to building and running hotels, no switching costs for the customers, high product differentiation within the industry, and also high exit barriers. However, there is the promise of a growing market with the increased local economy as well as an increase in foreign travelers. And the industry is very monopolistic with a low concentration ratio, and there are 3 categories of hotels currently: those built before independence and run by quasi-governmental organizations, as well as those privatized after independence and refurbished, and those built after independence by Western investors. And these hotels all vary on the star rating, the more modern hotels being built after independence running from 4 to 5 stars, and the others running from 1 to 3 stars. And the pricing runs accordingly, the 4 to 5 stars ranging from $250 to $650 a night, while the others range from $125 to $225 a night. And the 4 to 5 star hotels do have an advantage with higher occupancy rates ranging from 75 to 85% compared to the average of 40 to 50%. And the 3 categories of hotels can also be split up into branded and unbranded hotels. The branded usually is associated with more reliable services and ratings.
Next analysis that we wanted to do was a SWOT analysis to look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of this organization. As you can see just by looking at this graph, There are a lot of things that we want to cover, and so we're going to focus in on a few, but you'll also recognize that the weaknesses are particularly well developed, because this is something that we really think is important for us to look at. We're going to start with strengths and weaknesses. I've identified 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses for us to really focus on. The first strength that we want to cover is that some of our facilities are actually being used and used well, and they're great facilities. This is a huge strength for our organization. We also have an excellent reputation for our casino, and if we decide to open this casino again, or even just by the name of having it in our basement, we have the opportunity to have an excellent reputation. We also recognize that we have a substantial and good market share, and customers that are coming back repeatedly, and so this is an excellent strength as well that we're seeing as a bright side and some silver lining. Unfortunately, we also have a lot of weaknesses that we think we need to address. The first is that our leadership and our practices are not ideal. Right now we have leadership who isn't educated in business and runs the business off of relationships mostly. We also have financials that are shaky at best and are separated into different items, and lots of other things that we identified as poor business practices going forward if we continue in this business. We also recognize that we have resources that we want to make sure we maximize, and these resources are all important to us, but unfortunately not being used to their greatest capacity. We recognize that some of them are actually not even being used, things like the casino and other things that we have but are not putting to good use. Your cash flows that come in every year are also not turning a profit. These are serious things for us to consider. We also want to look at the opportunities and threats. First off, we have a handful of opportunities. We think that there's huge synergy opportunities between all of the different practices and all of the different profit areas that we have, namely the restaurant, the hotel, the office space, the casino if we open that. And this creates an opportunity for us to have synergy within the organization. We also have an opportunity to offer better services, things like a fitness facility or even the casino if we open that. And these provide opportunities for us to have better offerings and compete with these brand hotels. On the threat side, we have things like licensing and regulation. If we open the casino, this is an important part of the business because that can create a huge liability for us. We also have a move towards brand hotels that I want to particularly focus on. That's an important thing that we already identified as customers are starting to move away from niche hotels and into branded hotels. The third and last threat that we think is particularly important is the divided ownership of this organization that we talked about earlier, and this creates an inability for us to really run effectively. If we stay in this market, we think that that's a threat that we really need to take care of.
So our findings and analysis led us to a couple of recommendations. Our first recommendation is our most recommended, and that is to divest and sell the Bond Star Hotel immediately. Our second alternative option is to strategically invest in the Bond Star Hotel. So going into our first option and selling the Bond Star Hotel, there's some short-term things that we need to do immediately. So we would help you find and assess bidders and develop more accurate reports of your financial records, and that would increase your profitability selling the hotel. So if you choose to go this route, we'd be happy to facilitate attracting potential buyers and also help you develop a plan to sell your future investments. If you decide to strategically invest in the Bond Star Hotel, you can make a much better profit, but you also take on a lot bigger risk. So short-term options for this would be to sell off the office space that you're currently leasing. And in addition to that, we would like to release Kaplan and hire new management staff. Now that would be a hard process, and we'd be happy to help you facilitate the change going through the new management. So there's also some long-term issues that we would help you address and help us make a strategic plan for. So if you decide to go this route, we'd be happy to work with you developing a long-term strategy. So with that, we would like to thank you, and we look forward to working with you in the future.